I thought it would be really cool if over the next few videos I spent a bit of time talking about some of my favorite technologies to use on the front end and probably on the back end as well. Aside from Laravel, that's my back end of choice for building like APIs and that side of things. But I want to talk about like other back end and front end tools as well that really help me with my developer experience and help me sort of streamline what I do in my work and my side projects as well. So the one that I want to talk about today is VuexORM. And this is insanely cool. And so the story behind how I came across this is I loved dealing with data on the back end. It was so easy. It was so fun using Laravel's ORM system. But I hated dealing with data on the front end using Vuex. So it just felt so clunky to me that Vuex didn't really like interact very nicely with my models. And I had to create all of these actions and these states. And I often felt like I was just duplicating things when I was doing my actions and then my state. And by the way, I think Vuex is planning on simplifying that and removing the concept of a mutation. I'm not exactly sure how that's going to work out. But stuff like getters, and all that kind of it just felt really icky to me. It felt like too much repeating myself, like deciding on how I'm going to get an ID, and then, I could then like reuse that code somewhere else, but then, I had to write everything myself. Anyway, the point I'm making is I love fetching data on the back end and being able to say, while I'm fetching the data, give me all the nested data in that as well. And it all just worked. And then on the front end, having to deal with all that crap. So then I'm like, okay, maybe there's an ORM for the front end using Vuex. And I kind of thought to myself, there's no way this is going to exist. It's way too niche. It's way too specific. But I looked it up anyway, like on a whim. I actually, to go back a little bit, I actually tried to build this myself. I created something called like Elova or Evola. I kind of remember this was like 3 or 4 years ago. And I never even Googled a front-end VuexORM because I just assumed that it wouldn't exist. And so I tried to build something myself and like got part way, but it wasn't really that great. So anyway, one day I Googled Vuex and then object relational map. And sure enough, I find VuexORM, which is insanely cool. And this is how it works. This is kind of the shtick for me. Basically what you do is you create your models and you define in those models what the attributes are. And you also define the relationship with other models. So for example, you might say, you might have a user model and you'll say, for example, posts on that user model. And then for posts, you might say this dot has many and then posts. So basically you can set up relationships and you can set up like what the foreign keys and the local keys are and all that kind of stuff. And it supports has many relationships. It supports belongs to many. It supports polymorphic relationships. It is insanely cool. In fact, the other cool thing is it's basically copied the Laravel API for relationships, which means I can very easily define it in both of those places and even start streamlining things. But anyway, more on that later on, like streamlining the way that those relationships are set up so that it's the same on Laravel and the same with VuexORM. And so this is one of my all-time favorite tools. And what it does is I can then accept data from an API, and that could be nested data. So let's just say I get a user with all of their posts nested in that, and then all of the comments nested inside of all those posts. Because I've set up the relationships in VuexORM, what it will actually do is take that nested data and pull it apart and then inject it into the store and put that data into the store. So if I get a user with its posts and with its comments, what it will do is break that data apart and then put it inside of a part in the store which will have all of my users and all of my comments and all of my posts. And so it kind of breaks them apart and flattens it into kind of like a front-end database. So you've got your MySQL database, for example, or any SQL database, Postgres, whatever, and how everything is flattened, but then there's relationships so you can fetch that data. Well, it's the same with VuexORM. Basically, it takes all of your data, but then it flattens it into like a database on the front end. And then what you can do is start querying your data. So you can say, for example, give me user.or. So just give me all of the users. Or you can say user.query.with all of the posts. So then you can give me all of the posts for that user. You can even say user.query.with posts.comments. So you can even say, give me the user with all of its posts and all of its comments as well. And by the way, one of the cool things about this is that since it's been flattened, since all of that data has been flattened, you don't end up with a whole bunch of reactivity issues. So often, when data isn't flattened, where you've got lots of nested data, that's how you get reactivity issues with Vue on the front end. But VuexORM will solve a lot of those issues for you since it's all being flattened into the store. So you don't end up with any nested data in the store. So I absolutely love it. I hope I've done at least a decent job explaining it to you. If you love dealing with an ORM with something like Laravel, or I'm pretty sure Ruby has its own ORM. I'm not actually entirely sure how that works. But if you love dealing with ORMs, you are going to absolutely love VuexORM. It makes dealing with data on the front end a breeze. I almost never write getters, actions, and mutators anymore because it's all handled for me with VuexORM. So I can do stuff like find. So find a user with an ID of this. What else can I do? Oh, by the way, inserting data. So I can say user.insert and then tell it what data to insert. So when I get that data from the backend, I can then just say user.insert, insert all of the data, and it will automatically pull it apart, like I was talking about before, with all the posts and the comments nested in it, so that you can retrieve it easily later on without having any reactivity issues. So VuexORM, absolutely love it. It's totally solved my problems with dealing with data on the front end, and that's the first kind of technology that I love that I wanted to talk about with all of you. So hey, let me know if there's any technologies that you like, or let me know if there's something else that you use. I know there's something called Pina or Pinata, the one with a picture of a pineapple, which is like a alternative to Vuex. So yeah, let me know if there's any technologies that you use that you really like. Maybe hit me up on Discord or Twitter. And hey, if you'll enjoy this podcast and you like learning through videos, if you like learning Quasar through videos, then check out quasarcast.com/register. And thank you so much for listening. In the next episode, we'll talk about another technology that I love. Bye for now.